This 4-year-old beggar girl is forced to eat a plate of tripe, but a millionaire appears and does something that shocks everyone. Comment what you think will happen. Your opinion is very important, and subscribe to my channel to support my work. Your help is very important. Sweat dripped down Lily's forehead as she watched the bustle of the farmer's market in Harmony Creek on that humid July afternoon. At 6 years old, the girl already knew every corner of that place, every stall, every vendor shouting their deals under the scorching Florida sun. Her brown hair was tied in 2 messy braids, and the faded blue dress she wore had seen better days. She was sitting on the dusty ground watching people pass when the man approached. Earl was known at the market for his difficult temper and for treating badly any child who came near his butcher shop. His small, cruel eyes looked at Lily with disdain as he held a plate of cold tripe that was left over from lunch. "Well, little girl, you hungry, are you?" he said with a malicious grin. "Then eat this here if you want to survive another day." The plate was thrown on the ground, near Lily's bare feet. The cold tripe gave off a strong and unpleasant smell, mixed with the dust of the market. The girl stared at the food with her brown eyes clouded by the hunger she had felt for hours. Her stomach had been rumbling for so long that she had almost forgotten what it was like not to feel that constant pain. Her trembling little hands were already moving towards the plate when a firm voice echoed through the air. "Stop!" Arthur Mendelsohn had just arrived at the market to buy brown sugar and molasses for his regional candy factory. At 52 years old, he was a man of medium height, neatly combed grey hair, and simple but always clean clothes. His blue eyes carried a sadness that he tried to hide behind a serious and professional demeanor. "What do you want?" Earl grumbled, clearly annoyed by the interruption. "Don't you give that garbage to that child," Arthur replied, walking towards them. "Don't you have any shame?" Earl huffed and walked away, muttering curses under his breath. Arthur knelt down next to Lily, who continued to stare at the plate on the ground. From the bag he was carrying, he took out a grilled cheese sandwich he had bought a few minutes ago. "Here you go, kiddo. Now this is real food." To his surprise, Lily looked at the sandwich, then at him, and shook her head negatively. Without saying a word, she quickly got up and ran between the stalls of the market, disappearing into the crowd like a ghost. Arthur stood there, holding the sandwich, trying to understand what had happened. He had expected gratitude, perhaps a smile, but certainly not that sudden rejection. Something about that girl had touched a part of his heart that he had kept closed for 3 years, since he lost his wife Rose in a car accident. During the following days, Arthur couldn't get the image of Lily out of his mind. He began to frequent the market every day at the same time, always carrying some food, hoping to see her again. It was as if an invisible force was pushing him back to that dusty and noisy place. On the 3rd afternoon, he saw her again. Lily was sitting near Donna Maria's fruit stand, watching the children who passed by eating popsicles. When she noticed Arthur's presence, she cowered, as if she wanted to become invisible. "I'm not going to hurt you, kid," he said softly, keeping his distance. "I just want to know if you're hungry." Lily didn't answer, but her eyes didn't leave the rock candy he was holding. Slowly, Arthur placed the candy on the ground and took a few steps back. After a long moment of hesitation, the girl approached, picked up the candy, and began to eat with a voracity that broke the businessman's heart. "What's your name?" he asked gently. "Lily," she mumbled between bites. "Pretty name. I'm Arthur." "Where do you live, Lily?" The girl stopped chewing and looked at him suspiciously. Without answering, she finished eating quickly and again disappeared between the stalls. But this time, Arthur noticed the direction she took. In the days that followed, he began to ask discreet questions to the vendors at the market. That's how he discovered that Lily lived with a woman named Connie in a small shack on the outskirts of town. Some said Connie was her grandmother, others doubted that information. What everyone agreed on was that the two lived in extreme hardship. Connie Farrell was 38 years old and worked selling homemade sweets on the streets of Harmony Creek. She had lost her job at the textile factory 2 years earlier when the company closed due to the recession. Since then, she struggled every day to support herself and the girl she raised as her granddaughter, even knowing that the few dollars she managed to scrape together barely covered the most basic ingredients. When Arthur finally approached Connie at the market, he was impressed by the dignity she maintained despite the circumstances. Her dark hair was always tied in a simple bun, and she wore the same floral dress every day, always clean and well ironed. Her dark eyes reflected weariness, but also an iron determination. "Are you the one who takes care of Lily?" he asked respectfully. "Yes, sir. Is there a problem?" Connie replied, instinctively placing herself in a protective position. "On the contrary, I wanted to help you in some way." Connie studied him for a long moment, evaluating his intentions. She had learned to distrust strangers who offered help, especially well-dressed men who appeared out of nowhere interested in a poor child. "We don't need charity," she said proudly, raising her chin. "It's not charity," Arthur explained. "It's just, well, I have a candy factory here in town. I know how to recognize quality when I see it, and the sweets you make are excellent. I wanted to propose a business deal. That's how a partnership began, that would change the lives of all of them." Arthur began to buy all the sweets that Connie produced daily, paying a fair price that allowed her to buy better ingredients and still have some money left over for other basic needs. But it was more than just a business deal. With each passing day, Arthur felt more connected to that small, improvised family. Lily began to trust him gradually, especially after he fixed her only doll, an old rag doll that had lost an arm. 3 months after that first meeting at the market, Arthur was already part of Connie and Lily's routine. He had lunch with them on Sundays, helped with small repairs around the house, and had become a father figure to the girl who had never known a father. It was an afternoon in April when Connie decided to tell the truth she had kept for so long. They were sitting on the porch of the small shack, watching Lily play in the dirt yard, when she broke the silence that had settled between them. "Arthur," she said with a trembling voice, "there's something I need to tell you about Lily." The businessman felt a chill in his stomach. From the seriousness in Connie's tone, he knew he was about to hear something that would change everything. Connie's words hung in the air like a cloud laden with storm. Arthur felt his heart race as he watched the anguished expression of the woman he had learned to respect and admire in recent months. The warm afternoon wind rustled the leaves of the only tree in the yard, creating dancing shadows on Connie's face. "What kind of thing?" he asked, trying to keep his voice calm despite the anxiety growing in his chest. Connie took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly as she smoothed her floral dress. Her dark eyes fixed on Lily, who was playing carefree with colourful pebbles she had found in the yard, creating small imaginary castles in the dry earth. "I'm not Lily's grandmother," she said finally, the words coming out like a whisper laden with pain. "In fact, I don't even know who her parents are." Arthur felt as if the ground had disappeared under his feet. During all those months, he had assumed that Connie was the girl's grandmother, that there was a blood connection between them that explained the unconditional love he observed daily. "How do you not know?" he asked, leaning forward in the plastic chair where he was sitting. "It's been 3 years, Connie began, her voice choked with emotion. "I was working cleaning at the regional hospital when I found her. It was a Sunday morning. I was finishing my shift when I heard a faint cry coming from the women's bathroom on the 2nd floor. Connie paused, wiping a tear that ran down her face. Arthur remained silent, understanding that she needed time to gather the courage to continue. When I went into the bathroom, I found Lily on the floor, wrapped in an old towel. She was only 3 years old at the time. She was dirty, hungry, and crying so much that my heart almost stopped. I looked everywhere. I asked everyone who was in the hospital, but no one knew where she had come from. "And you decided to take her home?" Arthur asked, beginning to understand the magnitude of what Connie had done. What was I going to do? Leave her there? Call Child Protective Services so she would end up in a shelter? Connie got up from the chair, pacing nervously across the small porch. I had lost my mother the month before. I was alone in the world, without family. When I saw that abandoned child, it was as if fate had placed her in my path. Arthur processed the information slowly. Connie had risked everything to save an unknown child, had created a whole life based on lies necessary to protect Lily. "How did you get the documents?" he asked, although he already suspected the answer. "I knew a guy who worked at the courthouse. He helped me arrange the papers. I said she was my granddaughter, daughter of a daughter I had lost. I paid everything I had saved, but I managed to give her an identity." The silence that followed was interrupted only by the distant sound of cars passing on the dirt road, and by the joyful voice of Lily, who hummed a song she had learned on Connie's transistor radio. "Why are you telling me this now?" Arthur asked finally. "Because you've become important to us," Connie replied, returning to sit down. "And because I'm afraid of what might happen if someone finds out. If the authorities know I falsified documents, they might take Lily away from me. And I don't know if I could live without her." Arthur looked at Lily, who was now chasing a yellow butterfly, her crystal laughter echoing through the yard. The girl had completely transformed since he met her at the market. Her hair shone in the sun, her cheeks had gained color, and she showed a genuine joy that warmed the hearts of anyone who watched her. "Connie," he said carefully, "you saved that child's life. What you did was an act of love, not a crime." "But legally," she began. "Legally, we'll find a way to solve this," Arthur interrupted. "You have my word." It was that afternoon that Arthur realized how important that improvised family had become to him. In the 3 years since the loss of Rose, he had isolated himself from the world, focusing only on work and trying to forget the pain he carried in his chest. But Connie and Lily had brought light back into his life in a way he didn't imagine possible. During the following weeks, Arthur began to observe Lily with new eyes. The girl demonstrated an exceptional intelligence that surprised him. She had learned to recognize numbers just by watching him check the money from the sweets and asked questions about everything around her with an insatiable curiosity. "Uncle Arthur," she said one Saturday afternoon while he was teaching her to write her own name, "why are some letters harder than others?" "Because each letter has its own personality," he replied, smiling at the way she frowned when she concentrated. "Some are shy, others are brave." "Like Lily?" she asked, pointing to the letters of her name written on the paper. "Exactly like you," he said, feeling his heart clench with emotion. It was evident that Lily had the potential for much more than current circumstances allowed. Arthur began to dream about providing her with a formal education, a chance to develop all that natural intelligence. When he mentioned the idea to Connie, she was silent for a long moment. "Private school is expensive," she said finally. "I can pay," Arthur offered without hesitation. "What if they ask for her documents? What if they find out they're fake?" Connie's concern was valid, and Arthur knew it, but he also knew he had contacts in the town, people who could help resolve the situation discreetly. "Leave it to me," he said. "I'll talk to some people, see what can be done." That's how Arthur began a series of delicate conversations with acquaintances who worked in courthouses and public agencies. He discovered that regularizing Lily's situation would be possible, but would require time, and above all, an investigation into the circumstances of her abandonment. During this process, he learned that a teenager had entered the hospital on the morning that Lily was found, but had left before being discharged. Medical records indicated that she was only 15 years old at the time and had just given birth. "So her mother was just a child," Connie commented when Arthur shared this information with her. "A scared child who probably had nowhere to go," he added. The discovery brought a new dimension to Lily's story. It wasn't simply about a child abandoned by irresponsible parents, but about a complex situation involving a teenager who, possibly, had found herself in a desperate situation. "Do you think she's still out there?" Connie asked one night as they watched Lily sleep. "I don't know," Arthur replied. "But if she's out there, she'd be an adult by now." What none of them imagined was that this same young mother spent every night wondering about the fate of the daughter she had left at the hospital, carrying a pain that had become a permanent part of her existence, and that, very soon, fate would bring their paths together in a way that none of them could have predicted. The discreet investigation that Arthur had initiated was taking unexpected turns. Through his contacts at the courthouse, he discovered that it would be necessary to open an official process to regularize Lily's situation, which would inevitably raise questions about her origin. Each conversation he had with public officials increased his anxiety as he realized he was walking on dangerous ground. It was a Tuesday morning when Arthur received a call that would change everything. On the other end of the line, Mike Sanders, his friend who worked at the Central Courthouse, had worrying news. "Arthur, something strange is happening here," Mike said, his voice filled with concern. "Someone is asking questions about old birth records, specifically about children abandoned at the hospital 3 years ago." Arthur's blood ran cold. "What kind of person?" "A young woman. Said she's looking for information about a daughter who she had to leave behind. She didn't give many details, but she was very nervous." Arthur thanked him for the information and hung up the phone, feeling a huge weight on his chest. His hands trembled as he dialed Connie's number, knowing he needed to warn her immediately about this new threat to the stability they had built. "Connie, I need you to come to the factory now," he said when she answered. "It's urgent." Half an hour later, Connie arrived at Arthur's small candy factory, bringing Lily by the hand. The girl was excited, as she always was when she visited the place where the sweets she loved so much were made. But Connie seemed tense, her eyes revealing that she already suspected something was wrong. "What happened?" she asked as soon as they entered Arthur's office. He told her about Mike's call, watching as Connie's face paled with each word. Lily, oblivious to the adult's tension, was playing with the colored papers that Arthur kept on his desk to entertain her during her visits. "She's come for Lily," Connie whispered, her hands trembling. "After 3 years, she's decided to come back." "We don't know if that's it," Arthur tried to reassure her. "It could be anyone looking for any child." But they both knew that the coincidence was too great to be ignored. Connie sat down heavily in one of the office chairs, covering her face with her hands. "I always knew this day might come," she said, her voice muffled, "but I hoped that maybe she would never come back." "Connie, listen," Arthur said, kneeling next to her chair. "It doesn't matter who this woman is or what she wants. Lily is your daughter in every sense that matters. You raised her, you loved her, you sacrificed everything for her. But if it's the biological mother," Connie began. "Then we'll face this together," he interrupted. "You're not alone in this." In the days that followed, the tension at home was palpable. Connie tried to maintain normalcy so as not to scare Lily, but Arthur noticed how she jumped at any noise in the street, how she nervously looked out the window whenever she heard footsteps approaching. Lily, in turn, was beginning to realize that something was different. Her childish questions took on a more insistent tone. "Grandma, why are you sad?" she asked one afternoon, climbing onto Connie's lap. "I'm not sad, sweetheart," Connie lied, hugging the girl tightly. "I'm just a little tired. Can Uncle Arthur give you medicine so you won't be tired?" The innocence of the question made Connie cry, and she had to struggle to hide her tears from Lily. It was on Thursday of that same week that the situation became even more complicated. Arthur was closing the factory when he saw a young woman standing across the street, watching the activity. She was approximately 21 years old, with brown hair tied in a ponytail, and wore a white uniform that he recognized as being from the hospital in the neighboring town. When their eyes met, The woman hesitated for a moment, as if she was deciding whether to approach or not. Finally, she crossed the street with determined steps. "Excuse me for bothering you," she said, her voice trembling. "My name is Lucy. I heard that you know people who work at the courthouse." Arthur felt his heart race. Even before she continued, he knew exactly who she was. "How can I help you?" he asked, trying to keep his voice neutral. "I'm looking for information about a child," Lucy said, her nervous hands playing with the strap of the bag she was carrying. "A girl who was left at the hospital 3 years ago. I know it may seem strange, but I need to know what happened to her." "Why are you looking for this child?" Arthur asked, although he already knew the answer. Lucy lowered her eyes, tears beginning to run down her face. "Because she's my daughter." The silence that followed was heavy as lead. Arthur watched the young woman in front of him, seeing in her traits that he recognized in Lily, the shape of her eyes, the way she tilted her head when she was nervous. "I was 15 years old when I got pregnant," Lucy continued, her voice broken by emotion. "My family kicked me out of the house when they found out. I spent the entire pregnancy living on the streets, doing odd jobs to get food. When she was born, I had no way to take care of her. I had no home, I had no job, I had no one. And why are you looking for her now?" Arthur asked gently. "Because not a day goes by that I don't think about her," Lucy replied, sobbing. "Because I managed to graduate as a nursing assistant. I have a stable job now, and I want to know if she's okay. I want to know if someone is taking care of her, as she deserves." Arthur felt torn between compassion for the young mother who had suffered so much and fear of what her presence could mean for Connie and Lily. He knew that this conversation was only the beginning of a much more complex situation. "Lucy," he said carefully, "if I knew anything about this child, what would you do?" "I just want to see her," she replied immediately. "I just want to make sure she's happy and safe. I didn't come here to cause problems for whoever is taking care of her. I know I have no rights after so long." But Arthur knew it wasn't that simple. As much as Lucy said she just wanted to see her daughter, her presence would inevitably change everything. Connie would live with the constant fear of losing Lily, and the girl herself would be confused by the existence of a biological mother she didn't even know existed. "I need to think about this," he said finally. "Leave your phone with me. If I find out anything, I'll contact you." Lucy wrote her number on a piece of paper, thanked him, and walked away. Arthur stood in front of the factory for a long time, watching her disappear into the distance, knowing that he had reached the point where he could no longer protect his makeshift family from the consequences of the past. That night, he made a decision that he knew was necessary, but that could destroy the peace that everyone had found together. It was time to tell Connie the truth about the meeting with Lucy, however painful it might be. Night fell on Harmony Creek like a heavy cloak, laden with omens that Arthur felt deep in his soul. He drove to Connie's house with a heavy heart, knowing that the words he was about to speak could shatter the fragile stability they had built together. The paper with Lucy's phone number burned in his pocket like a hot ember. When he arrived at the small shack, he found Connie in the kitchen, preparing the usual simple dinner: beans, rice, and a piece of meat that Arthur had brought earlier. Lily was sitting on the floor of the living room, drawing in an old notebook that he had given her, humming softly a song she had learned on the radio. "You're home early today," Connie commented, but her voice carried a tension that revealed she sensed something different in his behavior. "Connie, I need to talk to you," Arthur said, his voice more serious than he intended. "It's about that woman who was looking for information at the courthouse." Connie's hands stopped in the middle of stirring the beans. She turned slowly, her dark eyes already reflecting the fear that had settled in her heart in recent days. "Did she look you up?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "This afternoon at the factory." Connie leaned against the kitchen sink, as if she needed support not to fall. "And what did she want?" "Information about the daughter she left at the hospital 3 years ago." The silence that followed was interrupted only by the sound of the wood crackling in the stove and by the cheerful voice of Lily, who continued singing, oblivious to the storm that was brewing around her. "What's she like?" Connie asked finally, and Arthur realized there were tears in her eyes. "Young, works as a nursing assistant. Seems like she's been through a lot. Does she want Lily back?" "She said she just wants to know if the girl is okay," Arthur replied, but they both knew that things were never that simple. Connie slumped into one of the chairs at the small kitchen table, covering her face with her hands. "I always knew this day would come," she murmured. "But I hoped I would have more time." Arthur approached her, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "Connie, you are Lily's mother in every sense that matters. 3 years taking care, loving, sacrificing everything for her. That has to be worth something." "But legally," she began. "Legally, we'll find a way to solve this," he said, with a determination that he didn't know if he really felt. "I'm not going to let them take Lily away from you." At that moment, as if she had sensed the tension in the air, Lily appeared in the kitchen, holding her drawing. It was a simple image, a small house with 3 figures in front, a woman, a man, and a girl, all holding hands. "Look what I drew," she said cheerfully. "It's the 3 of us, our family." Connie picked the girl up in her arms, hugging her with desperate force. "That's beautiful, sweetheart," she said, struggling to hold back her tears. "Why are you crying, Grandma?" Lily asked, gently touching Connie's wet face. "They're tears of joy," Connie lied, "because you made such a beautiful drawing." That night, after Lily fell asleep, Arthur and Connie talked late into the night about what they should do. The options seemed limited and all carried enormous risks. "What if I talked to her?" Connie suggested finally. "Maybe if she saw how Lily is doing, how happy she is here, maybe she would understand that it's better to leave things as they are. Or maybe seeing her would only increase her desire to have her daughter back," Arthur countered. "Connie, this girl has spent 6 years regretting a decision she had to make when she was just a child herself. It's not going to be easy to convince her to give up." In the days that followed, life in the small house seemed to be hanging by a thread. Connie could barely sleep, always alert to any sound in the street that might indicate Lucy's arrival. Lily began to realize that something was different, asking more questions and clinging more to Connie. "Grandma, are you going to leave me?" she asked one afternoon after waking up from a nightmare. "Never, my love," Connie promised, hugging her. "I'm never going to leave you." But even as she made that promise, Connie knew that it might not be a promise she could keep. It was on a Thursday, a week after Arthur's meeting with Lucy, that the young woman appeared at the door of the shack. Connie was hanging clothes in the yard when she heard the hesitant knock on the front door. Lily was at school. Arthur had managed to enroll her in a nearby public school, so at least the girl wouldn't witness what was about to happen. When Connie opened the door and saw Lucy standing there, she recognized her immediately. Not only by the traits she saw in Lily, but by the expression of pain and regret she carried on her face. "Are you Connie?" Lucy asked, her voice trembling. "I am. I'm Lucy. Arthur must have told you about me." Connie nodded, inviting her in. The 2 women sat in the small living room, each studying the other, trying to understand what kind of person they had in front of them. "Is she okay?" Lucy asked, her eyes scanning the simple but clean and organized environment. "She is," Connie replied. "She's at school now. She's an intelligent, caring girl, full of life. Can I see pictures of her?" Connie hesitated for a moment, then got up and took a small box where she kept the few photographs she had of Lily. They were simple images. The girl playing in the yard, sleeping, celebrating birthdays with homemade cakes. Lucy held the photos with trembling hands, tears running freely down her face. "She looks happy," she murmured. "She is happy," Connie confirmed. "At least she was until you showed up." The harshness in Connie's voice made Lucy look up. I didn't come here to cause problems, she said quickly. I just wanted to know if she was okay. And now that you know, you're going to leave, and leave us alone." Lucy was silent for a long moment, looking again at the photographs. "I don't know," she said honestly. "These 6 years have been hell for me. Not a day goes by that I don't regret the decision I made." "You were a child," Connie said, her voice softening slightly. "You were in an impossible situation. But she was my daughter, and I abandoned her." "You left her in a place where you knew she would be found and cared for," Connie corrected. "That's not abandonment, it's an act of desperate love." The two women cried together for a few minutes, each carrying her own pain, Lucy with the guilt of what she had done, Connie with the fear of what she could lose. "What do you want from me?" Connie asked finally. "I don't know," Lucy admitted. "Part of me wants to take her away, give her everything I never could. But looking at these pictures, seeing how you've taken care of her, maybe she's better off here." It was at that moment that they heard Lily's cheerful voice approaching the house, returning from school. Connie and Lucy exchanged glances, both knowing that the conversation was about to take a completely new direction. "Grandma, I'm home!" Lily shouted, opening the front door. When she entered the room and saw the stranger sitting with Connie, she stopped abruptly, her expression changing from joy to cautious curiosity. Time seemed to freeze at that moment as Lily watched the stranger sitting in the living room of her house. The girl was wearing her school uniform a little crumpled, her backpack hanging from one shoulder, and her brown eyes, so similar to Lucy's, showed a childish curiosity mixed with caution. "Grandma, who is she?" Lily asked, approaching Connie and automatically seeking the protection of her presence. Connie felt her throat tighten. She had imagined this moment so many times in recent days, but had never found the right words to explain such a complex situation to a 6-year-old. "This is Lucy, honey," she said finally, her voice trembling. She came to visit us." Lucy was paralyzed, observing every detail of the daughter she had left at the hospital 6 years before. Lily had grown so much. She was so different from the baby she remembered. Her brown hair shone under the afternoon light that entered through the window, and there was a vivacity in her eyes that broke Lucy's heart with happiness and pain at the same time. "Hi," Lily said shyly, still clinging to Connie. "Do you know my grandma?" The words, "my grandma," echoed in Lucy's heart like little stabs. She swallowed the sob that rose in her throat and forced a smile. "Yes, I do," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. "Your grandma told me you're very smart." "I am," Lily said, perking up at the compliment. "I can already read and write my whole name, and I can count to 100. "That's impressive," Lucy said, genuinely admiring. "Do you like school?" "I like it a lot. My teacher said I'm the best student in the class, and Uncle Arthur teaches me math at home." "Who's Uncle Arthur?" Lucy asked, looking questioningly at Connie. "He's a friend of ours," Connie explained quickly. "He has a candy factory and, well, he helps us." Lily ran to her room and returned with the notebook where she made her drawings. "Do you want to see my drawings?" she offered to Lucy with the natural generosity of children. "Of course I do," Lucy said, and when Lily sat down next to her on the couch, she had to restrain herself from hugging the girl immediately. The drawings were typical of a 6-year-old, houses with smoking chimneys, smiling suns, colourful flowers. But there was one that caught Lucy's attention, a drawing of 3 people holding hands in front of a house. "Who are these people?" she asked, pointing to the drawing. "It's my family," Lily replied proudly. "Grandma, Uncle Arthur and me. We love each other very much." The simplicity and sincerity of Lily's words hit Lucy like a lightning bolt. There was her daughter, happy and loved, talking about a family that didn't include her. It was exactly what she had wished for the child when she left her at the hospital, but it hurt in a way she hadn't anticipated. "Your family seems very special," Lucy managed to say. "It is. Grandma makes the most delicious sweets in the world, and Uncle Arthur takes me for a ride at the factory. He said that when I grow up, I can work with him if I want." Connie watched the interaction between the two with a heavy heart. She saw how Lily was naturally approaching Lucy with the ease that children have to accept new people. But she also saw Lucy's internal struggle, the way she held back tears and tried not to show the turmoil of emotions she must be feeling. "Lily," Connie said gently, "how about you go take your bath and then do your homework? Lucy needs to leave soon." "Oh, can't she stay for dinner?" Lily asked, disappointed. "Grandma makes very good beans." "Maybe another day," Lucy said quickly, realizing that Connie was trying to end the visit. "Today, I need to work." "Do you work at night?" Lily asked, curious. "I work at the hospital in the neighboring town. Sometimes I have night shifts." "That's cool. When I grow up, I want to be a doctor, too." Lucy smiled through her tears. "I'm sure you would be an excellent doctor." After Lily went to her room, the two women were silent for a few minutes. Lucy wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, trying to compose herself. "She's perfect," she said finally. "She's a special child," Connie agreed. "Intelligent, caring, full of life. You've done a wonderful job raising her." "I love her as if she were my own granddaughter," Connie said, her voice filled with emotion. "She's everything I have in the world." Lucy nodded, understanding the implicit message. "Connie, I didn't come here to destroy your lives. When I left her at the hospital, I prayed that someone like you would find her, someone who could give her the love that I couldn't afford to give. And now? What do you want now?" "I don't know," Lucy admitted. "Part of me feels like I should take her with me, try to make up for lost time. But seeing her here, seeing how happy she is, maybe that's selfish of me." "It would be," Connie said firmly. "Lily doesn't know any other life than this. For her, I'm Grandma, Arthur is uncle, this is her home. Tearing her away from here would be cruel." "But I'm her mother," Lucy said, her voice breaking. "Being a mother isn't just giving birth," Connie replied. "It's being present on nights of fever. It's teaching how to tie shoes. It's cleaning a scraped knee. It's giving a lap when she has a nightmare. You may have given birth to Lily, but I raised her." Connie's words were harsh, but true. Lucy knew it, and the truth hurt more than any lie could hurt. "What would you do in my place?" Lucy asked. "In your place, I would thank God for having found someone who loved my daughter as I couldn't love," Connie replied. "And I would let her be happy." At that moment, Lily appeared in the living room again, already in her pajamas, with her hair wet from the bath. "Lucy, are you going to come visit us again?" she asked innocently. Lucy looked at Connie, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "If your grandma lets me, yes," Lucy replied. "Great! You can teach me things about the hospital." "I can teach you whatever you want to know." Lily smiled happily and gave Lucy a quick hug before running to Connie. "Grandma, now we have a new friend." After Lily went to sleep, Lucy prepared to leave. At the door, she turned to Connie. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For loving her when I couldn't. For giving her a family when I had no way to give. For being the mother she needed." Connie felt tears in her eyes. "Lucy, you can always be part of her life. As an aunt, as a family friend. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Would you do that? Would you let me be part of her life? If you promise you won't try to take her away from me?" "Yes." Lucy nodded, knowing that this was probably the best solution for everyone. It wasn't what her heart screamed that she wanted, but it was what was best for Lily. "I promise," she said. But even as she made that promise, Lucy knew that the internal struggle was far from over. Seeing her daughter so happy and well cared for should have comforted her, but it only intensified the emptiness she felt in her chest. And as she walked away from the small house, she wondered if she would have the strength to keep the promise she had just made. In the weeks that followed the first meeting between Lucy and Lily, life in Connie's small house underwent a subtle but profound transformation. Lucy began to make regular visits, always on Sundays, establishing a routine that everyone tried to accept as natural, but which carried a constant tension beneath the surface. Lily had quickly become attached to the new family friend, especially after Lucy brought a toy stethoscope and taught the girl to listen to the hearts of her dolls. The child was fascinated with the stories from the hospital that Lucy told, always edited so as not to scare her, but full of details that fueled her natural curiosity. "Aunt Lucy," Lily said one Sunday, naturally using the title they had established, "have you ever saved someone's life?" "Several times," Lucy replied, feeling her heart clench with the word aunt. "Once I helped a boy who had swallowed a coin. Another time, I took care of an old woman who had pneumonia. When I grow up, I want to save lives too," declared Lily, making Connie and Lucy exchange a look full of meaning. Arthur had accepted Lucy's presence with a maturity that surprised her. He saw how the young woman struggled to keep her emotions under control during the visits, how she tried not to cross the boundaries that had been established. But he also realized that the situation was taking an emotional toll on everyone involved. "How are you coping with this?" he asked Connie one night, after Lucy had left, and Lily was sleeping. "It's difficult," Connie admitted. "Every time she looks at Lily, I see the struggle she's fighting with herself, and I'm afraid that one day she won't be able to control herself anymore and will want to take her away. And you? How are you feeling?" Connie sighed deeply. "Confused. Part of me admires her for respecting our agreement, but another part is tense with each visit, waiting for it to be the last. Maybe we should talk to her about it, establish clearer boundaries. Or maybe we should accept that this situation can't last forever," Connie said, verbalizing the fear that everyone carried. On Lucy's side, the struggle was even more intense. Every Sunday she spent with Lily was a mixture of joy and torture. Seeing her daughter growing up, hearing her laughter, teaching her new things, all of this fueled a maternal hunger that had been repressed for 6 years. But at the same time, she clearly saw that tearing Lily away from that environment would be an act of pure cruelty. It was on a Tuesday that she was working a particularly difficult night shift when Lucy made a decision that would change everything. She had taken care of a child the same age as Lily, who had arrived at the hospital after a household accident, and seeing the parents' despair had awakened in her a painful clarity about her own situation. The next morning, instead of going home to rest, she drove straight to Arthur's factory. She found him in the office, reviewing orders for sweets for the upcoming summer festivals. "Lucy," he said, surprised by the unexpected visit. "Is something wrong?" "I need to talk to you," she said, and Arthur immediately realized that something important was happening. "It's about Lily." They sat down in the small office, and Lucy took a deep breath before starting to speak. "Arthur, these last few months have been the most difficult of my life," she said. "Getting to know Lily, seeing her happy and well cared for. It should comfort me, but it only made the pain I feel worse." "What are you trying to tell me?" Arthur asked, already fearing the answer. "That I can't go on like this anymore, pretending I'm just an aunt, accepting scraps of time with my own daughter. It's destroying me inside." Arthur's heart raced. "Lucy, you promised—" "I know what I promised," she interrupted, "but I was fooling myself thinking I could keep it. Every night I dream about her, I wake up thinking about her, I spend the day counting down the hours until the next Sunday. And what do you want to do?" Lucy was silent for a long moment, tears running down her face. "I want my daughter," she said finally. "I know it's selfish, I know it will cause pain for everyone, but she's my daughter, Arthur, and I have rights." "Legal rights, maybe," Arthur said, trying to remain calm. "But what about her rights?" "The right to stay with the family she knows, in the place she calls home. I can give her things that you can't," Lucy argued. "A better education, opportunities that you will never be able to offer, and above all, I can give her a real mother." Connie is a real mother to her, Arthur said firmly. And as for opportunities, don't underestimate what we're willing to do for Lily. You have money, Arthur, but you have no legal rights over her. If I go to court... Don't do that, Arthur pleaded. Please, Lucy, think about what this would do to Lily. She's a child, she'll adapt, Lucy said. But her voice carried an uncertainty that revealed that she herself didn't completely believe it. She'll adapt, Arthur repeated, incredulous. She'll be torn away from the only people she knows as family, from the only home she remembers having, and you think she'll simply adapt? Lucy got up from the chair, pacing nervously around the small office. I don't want to hurt her, but I can't keep living this lie either. I need to try to be her mother for real. And if it doesn't work, what if she can't adapt, if she becomes traumatized? Then at least I'll have tried, Lucy said, her voice filled with despair. At least I won't spend the rest of my life wondering, what if? Arthur understood at that moment that the situation had reached a point of no return. Lucy's constant presence had fueled a desire that she could no longer control, and the pain she felt was turning into a dangerous determination. What are you going to do? He asked. I'm going to find a lawyer, Lucy said. I'm going to file for custody. I have a birth certificate, DNA tests I can do, proof that I'm the biological mother. And the false documents that Connie used? That will only hurt her, not me, Lucy said, although her words sounded cruel even to herself. Lucy, for God's sake, think about what you're doing, Arthur pleaded. You're going to destroy an entire family because of your own suffering. This family was built on a lie, she retorted. Lily deserves to know the truth about who she is. The truth is, she's a loved and happy child, Arthur said. Shouldn't that be enough? But Lucy had already left the office, leaving Arthur alone with the weight of their conversation. He knew he needed to tell Connie immediately, but he also knew the words he was about to speak would shatter the heart of the woman who had become so important in his life. That afternoon, when he arrived at Connie's shack, he found her in the yard, hanging clothes on the line while Lily played with her dolls in the shade of the only tree on the property. The scene was so peaceful, so full of familial love, that he almost didn't have the courage to destroy it with the news he carried. "Connie!" he called, his voice laden with a gravity she recognized immediately. "What is it?" she asked, already feeling her heart race. "I need to tell you what Lucy told me today." And when he finished recounting the conversation, Connie sat down heavily in one of the plastic lawn chairs, watching Lily play innocently, unaware that her little life was about to be turned upside down again. Connie's world crumbled at that moment when Arthur finished telling her about Lucy's decision. She sat in the plastic chair, watching Lily play happily in the yard, not knowing that a storm was brewing around her. The clothes on the line swayed in the afternoon breeze, and for an absurd moment, Connie wondered if she should take them down before it started to rain. "How much time do we have?" she asked finally, her voice sounding distant even to herself. "I don't know," Arthur replied, sitting on the ground beside her chair. "It depends on how quickly she gets a lawyer, how long it takes to process the papers. Weeks? Months? Probably weeks." Connie closed her eyes, trying to imagine what it would be like to explain to Lily that she would have to leave, that the life she knew was coming to an end. How do you explain to a 6-year-old that love isn't enough to keep them together? "I'm not going to give up without a fight," she said, opening her eyes with a fierce determination. "She may be the biological mother, but I raised Lily. That has to be worth something." "Of course it is," Arthur agreed. "And I'm going to help you. We'll get the best lawyer we can find. We'll fight with everything we have." That night, after Lily was asleep, Connie and Arthur spent hours searching the internet for similar cases, trying to understand what their chances were. What they discovered was not encouraging. The legal system tended to favor biological parents, especially when there was evidence of falsified documentation. "What if we tell the truth?" Arthur suggested. If we explain that you found her abandoned, that you saved her life, and admit that I forged documents, Connie replied, that will only make my situation worse. Then what do? We fight, Connie said simply. We fight until the last moment. In the following week, Lucy didn't show up for her Sunday visit. Lily was disappointed, asking several times where Aunt Lucy was and when she would return. Connie and Arthur invented excuses about shifts at the hospital, but they both knew that absence meant Lucy was putting her plan into action. The confirmation came on a Wednesday when a court officer appeared at the door of the shack with a summons. Connie signed the document with trembling hands, her eyes scanning the legal words that were like knives in her heart. Custody request was written at the top of the paper, followed by legal terms she could barely understand. "What does this all mean?" she asked Dr. Henry Carvalho, the lawyer Arthur had hired to represent her. Dr. Henry was a middle-aged man with greying hair and a kind expression that conveyed competence and compassion. He studied the documents carefully before answering. "It means Lucy is formally requesting custody of the child," he explained. "She has presented a birth certificate, is requesting a DNA test, and has evidence that she is the biological mother." "And our situation?" Arthur asked. "Complicated," the lawyer admitted. "The falsified documentation is a serious problem, but we have points in our favor. The fact that Connie has cared for the child for 3 years, the stability of the current home, the child's well-being." "What are our chances?" Connie asked directly. Dr. Henry hesitated. "Honestly, slim. The law favors biological parents, especially when they can demonstrate the ability to care for the child." "But she abandoned Lily," Connie protested. "She was a minor at the time," the lawyer explained. "The court may consider that as mitigating circumstances." The weeks that followed were a nightmare of paperwork, preliminary hearings, and constant anxiety. Connie could barely sleep, and during the day she tried to maintain normalcy for Lily, who began to realize that something was wrong. "Grandma, why are you sad?" the girl asked one morning while they were having breakfast. "I'm not sad, sweetie," Connie lied. "I'm just a little tired." "Is it because of work? Uncle Arthur can help." The innocence of the question made Connie fight back tears in front of the child. How do you explain that the problem wasn't work, but the possibility of losing her forever? During this period, Lucy had temporarily moved to Harmony Creek, renting a small apartment and getting a transfer to work at the local regional hospital. She wanted to demonstrate to the court that she was able to raise Lily in the town, minimizing the impact of the change on the child's life. The first direct confrontation between the two women took place in court during a conciliation hearing. They sat on opposite sides of the table, each with her lawyer, while the judge tried to find a solution that served the child's best interests. "Miss Lucy," the judge said, "can you explain why you decided to seek custody only now, after 3 years?" "I was very young when I had the child, Your Honor," Lucy replied, her voice firm despite the visible tension. "I was not able to care for her properly, but now I have a stable profession, my own income, and above all, the emotional maturity to be a mother." "And you, Ms. Connie," the judge continued, "can you explain the circumstances in which you took care of the child?" Connie looked at her lawyer, who nodded slightly. They had decided to tell a version close to the truth, without admitting the falsification of the documents. "I found the girl abandoned, Your Honor. The mother had disappeared. The child was alone and in danger. I took responsibility because no one else would." "But you falsified documents for that," Lucy's lawyer interjected. "Objection," Dr. Henry said. "That is a baseless accusation." "It is a fact," retorted the other lawyer. "The documents presented by my client prove that she is the biological mother, and the documents in possession of the defendant are inconsistent with that reality." The judge raised his hand, asking for silence. "What worries me here are not the technical aspects of the documentation, but the well-being of the child. Is she being well cared for currently?" "Perfectly well," Dr. Henry replied. She is in good health, is attending school, demonstrates healthy emotional development. And you, the judge addressed Lucy, are you sure you are prepared to assume full responsibility for the child? Raising a child is not just a matter of legal rights. I'm sure, Your Honor, Lucy replied. I've spent the last 6 years preparing for this moment. I finished my studies, built a career, achieved financial stability. All of this thinking about the day I could have my daughter back. And the child's adaptation? Does she know you as a mother? Lucy hesitated for a moment. She knows me as a family friend. But I am her biological mother, and I believe that with time and affection we can build a real mother-daughter relationship. The problem, Dr. Henry interjected, is that forcing this transition can be traumatic for the child. She only knows one family, has emotional bonds established for 3 years. Bonds established on a lie, replied Lucy's lawyer. The child has the right to know her true identity. The judge was silent for a long moment, studying the papers in front of him. Finally, he looked at the 2 women. I will schedule a hearing for next week, he said. In the meantime, I want a psychological report of the child, assessment of the housing conditions of both parties, and especially, I want to hear the child's own opinion on the situation. Your Honor, Dr. Henry protested, the child is only 6 years old. She does not have the maturity to understand the implications of this decision. But she has the right to be heard, the judge replied. The final decision will be mine, but I want to understand how she feels about the people involved in her life. When they left the courthouse, Connie was visibly shaken. The prospect of Lily having to testify, of being questioned about preferences between people she loved, seemed too cruel. How are we going to explain this to her? She asked Arthur. Carefully, he replied. Very carefully. But they both knew that there was no gentle way to explain to a 6-year-old that her entire life was being decided by strangers in a courtroom, and that everything she knew as family could disappear at any moment. The psychologist assigned by the court, Dr. Mariana Rodriguez, arrived at Connie's shack on a Thursday morning to assess Lily. She was a kind-looking woman, her hair in a professional bun, carrying a briefcase full of toys and games specifically designed to assess the emotional state of children. Lily was nervous, hiding behind Connie when the stranger arrived. Connie had tried to explain in the simplest way possible that a special doctor would come to talk to her. But the child felt the tension in the air, and it made her uncomfortable. "Hi, Lily," Dr. Mariana said in a soft voice, crouching down to get on the same level as the girl. "I brought some nice toys for us to play together. Would you like to see?" Gradually, with the patience typical of those who work with children, the psychologist managed to get Lily to approach. They sat on the floor of the small living room, and Dr. Mariana began to take toys out of the briefcase. Dolls, cars, building blocks, paper and crayons. "Lily, can you tell me about your family?" she asked as the girl explored the toys. "My family is Grandma Connie and Uncle Arthur," Lily replied promptly, picking up a doll. "They take care of me and love me very much." "And Aunt Lucy? Is she also part of your family?" Lily stopped playing for a moment, thinking. "Aunt Lucy is our friend. She comes to visit us sometimes and teaches me things about the hospital. But she doesn't live here with us. Would you like her to live here?" "It would be nice," Lily said, returning to play with the doll. "But our shack is small. Maybe she could live in the house next door. Then she could come have dinner with us every day." Dr. Mariana made discreet notes, observing how Lily referred to the people in her life. It was evident that the child saw Connie and Arthur as her primary parental figures, while Lucy occupied a secondary, though affectionate, position. "Lily, if you could draw a picture of your family, what would it look like?" The girl took a piece of paper and began to draw with concentration. The result was similar to the drawings she always made. A small shack with 3 figures in front. A woman with her hair up, Connie, a tall man, Arthur, and a little girl, herself. In the corner of the paper, separated from the other figures, was a fourth person. "Who is this person here?" the psychologist asked, pointing to the isolated figure. "It's Aunt Lucy," Lily explained. "She doesn't live with us, so I drew her far away. But I like her." The evaluation continued for more than an hour, with games and activities that revealed an emotionally stable child, with clear and solid emotional bonds with her caregivers. Dr. Mariana was impressed with Lily's articulation, her ability to express feelings, and especially with the sense of security she demonstrated when talking about her current life. When the psychologist left, Connie felt a little more hopeful. It was obvious that Lily was well adapted and happy in her current situation. Maybe that would weigh in their favor in court. But that hope was shattered the next day when Dr. Henry called with news that would change everything. "Connie, I need to see you urgently," he said, his voice full of tension. "They discovered something about Lily's documentation." An hour later, at the lawyer's office, Connie and Arthur sat down before a stack of papers that Dr. Henry had spread out on the table. "Lucy's lawyer did a deeper investigation," he explained, "and discovered that Lily's documents were falsified in a more elaborate way than we imagined." "What do you mean?" Arthur asked. "It wasn't just the birth certificate. There are fake medical records, an altered vaccination card, a whole identity built. And worse, they tracked the source of the forgery." Connie felt her blood run cold. "And then? They found out who made the documents for you, and that person, well, she's willing to testify against you in exchange for an agreement with the district attorney." The silence that followed was deafening. Connie realized that her situation had gone from delicate to desperate in a matter of minutes. "Does that mean I can be arrested?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. "It means you could face criminal charges for forging documents," Dr. Henry confirmed, "and that virtually eliminates any chance of keeping custody of Lily." Arthur stood up abruptly, walking to the office window. "There has to be something we can do. There has to be." "There is," Dr. Henry said slowly. "But you're not going to like it." "What is it?" Connie and Arthur asked simultaneously. "We can try a settlement. Connie admits to the forgeries, agrees to relinquish custody, but in exchange she doesn't face criminal charges, and maybe we can negotiate visitation rights." "Visits?" Connie repeated, incredulous. 3 years raising her as my daughter, and in the end I just become a visitor." "It's better than jail and losing her completely," Dr. Henry said gently. Connie covered her face with her hands, trying to process how her life had crumbled so quickly. Weeks ago, she was a devoted mother, raising her beloved granddaughter. Now, she was a criminal, facing the possibility of prison and the definitive loss of the child she loved more than her own life. "I need time to think," she said finally. "Connie, we don't have much time," the lawyer warned. "The hearing is next Monday. If we're going to make a deal, it needs to be now." That night, Connie and Arthur sat on the porch of the shack, watching Lily play in the yard before bed. The girl was humming a song she had learned at school, completely oblivious to the fact that her life was about to change forever. "What are we going to do?" Connie asked. "I don't know," Arthur admitted. "Part of me wants to fight to the end, even if it's a lost cause. But the rational part knows that maybe it's better to accept the deal. How am I going to explain to her that I'm not her grandma anymore? That now I'm just a visitor?" "Maybe you don't have to explain everything all at once," Arthur suggested. "Maybe we can make a gradual transition." "Arthur, are you going to stay in her life?" Connie asked, suddenly worried about that too. "If Lucy allows it, yes. But probably not in the same way." Connie realized that she wasn't just losing Lily, she was losing the family they had built together. She was losing the purpose that gave meaning to her life. "Will she miss us?" she asked, watching Lily pick up small pebbles to make an imaginary castle. "Of course she will, and we're going to miss her for the rest of our lives." The next morning, Connie made the most difficult decision of her life. She called Dr. Henry said she would accept the deal as long as she could get guarantees of regular visits to Lily. You made the right choice, the lawyer said. I'll contact the other side to negotiate the terms. But even knowing that she had made the most rational decision, Connie felt like she was betraying everything she held most sacred, as if she were selling her own soul to avoid even worse consequences. There were only 3 days left before the final hearing. 3 days to prepare Lily for a change that she didn't understand and that would change her life forever. 3 days to say goodbye to the only life Connie had known as a mother. And during those 3 days, Connie decided that she would do everything to make them the best 3 days of Lily's life, even knowing that they would also be the last they would spend together as mother and daughter. What she didn't imagine was that Lucy was going through her own torments, questioning for the first time if she was doing the right thing, and that a last-minute discovery was about to change everything once again, in a way that no one could have predicted. It was Saturday morning, 2 days before the final hearing, when Lucy received a call that would change everything. She was in the small apartment she had rented, trying to assemble a room for Lily with simple furniture she had bought, when the phone rang. On the other end of the line was her former supervisor from the hospital where she had interned during college. "Lucy, it's good to find you," said Nurse Carmen, her voice full of urgency. "I need to talk to you about something very important. It's about that situation you told me about the girl you're trying to get back." "What about it?" Lucy asked, feeling a strange anxiety. "Remember you told me you left the child at Harmony Creek Regional Hospital?" "I remember, of course." "Lucy, honey, I worked in that hospital for 10 years. On the night you told me you left the child there, well, there was a cleaning lady working that I knew very well." Lucy's heart raced. "And?" "Connie Farrell. She worked there at the time, and Lucy, I remember her commenting about finding an abandoned child." Lucy almost dropped the phone. "Are you telling me that—" "I'm telling you that the woman who raised your daughter is the same one who found her at the hospital. She didn't steal the child, Lucy. She saved her." Lucy's world stopped. For months, she had built a narrative in her mind where Connie was someone who had taken advantage of a situation to keep a child that wasn't hers. But the reality was completely different. "Carmen, are you sure about this?" "Absolutely. I remember Connie coming to the hospital in the following days, worried about the child, wanting to know if anyone had come to look for her. When no one showed up, she took responsibility." Lucy sat down heavily in a chair, feeling as if the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. "Why didn't you tell me this before?" "Because you never told me the name of the woman who was raising your daughter. Only when you mentioned that she was a former hospital employee and that her name was Connie did I make the connection." After hanging up the phone, Lucy stood in the middle of the half-assembled apartment, trying to process this new information. Connie hadn't stolen Lily. She had saved the life of a child abandoned by a desperate teenage mother. She had given love, care, and stability to a girl who was alone in the world. And now Lucy was about to destroy that family because of her own pain and regret. At that same moment on the other side of town, Connie was living what she knew were her last days as Lily's mother. She had decided not to tell the girl about the change until after the hearing, wanting to preserve her innocence for as long as possible. "Grandma, are we going to make cookies today?" Lily asked, appearing in the kitchen still in her pajamas, with her hair disheveled from sleep. "Of course, sweetie," Connie replied, forcing a smile. "What kind do you want to make?" "Those molasses cookies that Uncle Arthur likes." They spent the whole morning in the kitchen, Lily more excited than ever, getting her clothes dirty with flour and laughing at her own mishaps. Connie recorded every moment in her memory, the way Lily frowned when she concentrated, how she hummed softly while stirring the dough, how her eyes sparkled with pride when the cookies were ready. "Grandma, can I invite Aunt Lucy to eat cookies with us tomorrow?" Lily asked innocently. Connie felt a sharp pain in her chest. "Maybe she's busy tomorrow, sweetie." But she really likes our cookies, and it's been a while since she's come to visit us." "Yes, it's been a while," Connie murmured, knowing that Lucy had stopped visiting because she was preparing for the legal battle. That afternoon, while Lily was sleeping after lunch, Connie sat in the yard and tried to imagine what her life would be like without the girl. The house would be silent, without laughter echoing through the rooms. There would be no more small clothes on the line, no more drawings glued to the refrigerator, no more the sound of little feet running across the cement floor. She was lost in those thoughts when she heard a knock on the door. To her surprise, it was Lucy standing there, but there was something different in her expression. She seemed dejected, confused, carrying a weight that wasn't there before. "Connie, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice hesitant. "If it's about Monday's hearing, my lawyer has already advised me about the agreement," Connie replied coldly. "It's not about that. It's about how it all started." Connie frowned, inviting Lucy in. They sat in the small living room, and Lucy took a deep breath before starting to speak. "I found out that you worked at the hospital on the night I left Lily there," she said directly. Connie felt her blood run cold. "How did you find out?" "A former supervisor of mine told me. She remembered you commenting about finding an abandoned child." The silence that followed was heavy. Connie didn't know if this information improved or worsened her situation. "And what does that change?" she asked finally. "It changes everything," Lucy said, tears beginning to stream down her face. "For all these months, I was convinced that you had taken advantage of a situation to keep a child that wasn't yours. But the truth is that you saved my daughter when I abandoned her." "You didn't abandon her," Connie said softly. "You were a scared child who had no options." "But you could have called the authorities. You could have let her go to a shelter. Instead, you took her home, raised her as your own granddaughter." "Because I loved her from the first moment I saw her," Connie said simply. Lucy covered her face with her hands, sobbing. "What have I done? What have I done to you?" "You did what any mother would do," Connie replied. "You tried to get your daughter back." "But at what cost?" "I'm destroying a family that I should be thanking for existing." At that moment, Lily appeared in the room, still sleepy from her afternoon nap. When she saw Lucy crying, she ran to her with the natural concern of children. "Aunt Lucy, why are you crying?" she asked, gently touching the young woman's wet face. Lucy looked at that child, who was her daughter, but who saw Connie as a mother who called Arthur uncle, who had built a whole life based on the love that other people gave her. And she finally understood the magnitude of what she was about to do. "I'm crying because sometimes adults make the wrong choices," she said to Lily. "But you can fix the wrong choices," Lily said with the simple wisdom of children. "Grandma always teaches me that." Lucy looked at Connie, who watched the scene with tears in her own eyes. "Connie, I need to ask you a question, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "You can ask. If you could go back in time, would you still take Lily home that night?" "Without hesitating," Connie replied immediately. "It was the best decision I ever made in my life." "And you? Do you love her as if she were your blood granddaughter?" "I love her more than my own life." Lucy was silent for a long moment, observing how Lily snuggled naturally in Connie's lap, how there was a perfect harmony between the two. "Connie," she said finally, "can I ask you a favor?" "What favor?" "Teach me how to be her mother without destroying the family you built." The question caught Connie completely off guard. "What do you mean?" "I don't want to take her away from you anymore," Lucy said, the words coming out in a torrent. "I want to learn how to be part of her life in a way that doesn't hurt anyone. I want her to have two mothers who respect each other, not two women fighting for her." Connie felt as if the world had stopped. "Are you giving up custody?" "I'm giving up the idea that I can only be her mother, if you're not." Lily, who had heard part of the conversation without fully understanding, looked at the two women. "Does that mean you're going to be friends again?" Lucy and Connie looked at each other, both realizing that maybe there was a third option that neither of them had considered before. an option that put Lily's well-being above the desires and fears of the adults. Monday arrived with a fine rain that seemed to reflect the mood of everyone involved in the hearing that would define Lily's future. Lucy had spent the entire Sunday with Dr. Henry and her own lawyer, trying to formalize her withdrawal from the lawsuit. They had reached a preliminary agreement where Lucy would withdraw the custody request in exchange for regular visitation rights and participation in important decisions about Lily's education. Connie woke up that morning feeling a mixture of relief and anxiety. Although Lucy had changed her mind, there was still the issue of document forgery that needed to be resolved. Dr. Henry had reached an agreement with the district attorney where Connie would pay a fine and do community service, but would not face jail time. "How are we going to explain all this to Lily?" Connie asked Arthur as they prepared to go to the courthouse. "Carefully," he replied. "We'll say that Aunt Lucy is a very special person who will be part of our family in a different way." Lily had stayed with a neighbor during the hearing, unaware that her life was being redefined in the cold corridors of the courthouse. The girl was excited because Connie had promised to take her for ice cream afterward, unaware that that would be a celebration. But when they arrived at the courthouse, a surprise awaited them. Lucy was in the hallway, visibly pale and shaken, talking to her lawyer. When she saw Connie and Arthur approaching, she ran to them. "Connie, something happened," she said, her voice trembling. "Something terrible." "What is it?" Arthur asked, noticing the desperation in Lucy's face. "Last night, after I left your house, I started to feel sick. Dizziness, nausea, a terrible headache. I went to the hospital thinking it was just stress from the whole situation." "And?" Connie asked, already fearing the answer. "They did tests, lots of tests." Lucy took a deep breath, fighting back tears. "Connie, I have a brain tumor." The silence that followed was deafening. Connie felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her feet. Arthur put a hand on Lucy's shoulder, who was trembling visibly. "What kind of tumor?" he asked gently. "Malignant? Aggressive?" "The doctors said that maybe I have a few months." Connie covered her mouth with her hands, tears streaming down her face. In a matter of minutes, the entire dynamics of the situation had changed completely. It was no longer a battle for Lily's custody, but a young mother facing a terminal illness. "Lucy, I'm so sorry," Connie said, hugging her impulsively. "So sorry." "Connie, please," Lucy said between sobs. "Promise me you'll take care of Lily. Promise me you'll tell her who I am, that I loved her, that I only wanted the best for her." "You're going to tell her that yourself," Connie said firmly. "You're going to fight this disease. You're going to get treatment. You're going to—" "Connie, the doctors were clear. The tumor is already very advanced. Maybe with surgery and chemotherapy I can get a few more months, but then let's make the most of every day of those months," Arthur interrupted. "Let's make them the best months of Lily's life with you." At that moment, Dr. Henry approached the group. "The hearing has been postponed due to the circumstances," he said. "The judge wants time to re-evaluate the situation." "What situation?" Connie asked. "Lucy is giving up custody." "Yes, but now there is a question of inheritance, of the child's rights, medical issues that need to be considered," the lawyer explained. "The court wants to ensure that all of Lily's interests are protected." When they went back to pick up Lily from the neighbor's house, she ran to them excitedly. "Are we going for ice cream now?" she asked, jumping for joy. "Of course, sweetie," Connie said, forcing a smile. "And Aunt Lucy is coming with us." "Great. It's been a while since we've all gone out together." During the way to the ice cream parlor, Lily chattered animatedly about her morning, about the drawings she had made, about the new song she had learned at school. Her innocent joy contrasted painfully with the weight that the adults carried in their hearts. "Aunt Lucy, are you okay?" Lily asked, when she noticed that the young woman was quieter than usual. "You seem sad." "I'm just a little tired," Lucy said, stroking the girl's hair, "but being here with you makes me feel better." That afternoon, they decided to tell the truth to Lily, but in a way that she could understand. They sat in the yard of Connie's shack and Lucy took a deep breath before beginning. "Lily, you know that Grandma Connie loves you very much, right?" "I know. She's the best grandma in the world. And you know that I love you very much too." "I know." "You're my favorite aunt." Lucy exchanged a look with Connie, who nodded encouragingly. "Lily, I'm not exactly your aunt. I'm your mother, your real mother." The girl stopped playing with the pebbles she had gathered, looking confusedly at Lucy. "But Grandma Connie is my mother," she said. "Grandma Connie has taken care of you since you were little, so she's like a mother to you," Lucy explained patiently. "But I carried you in my belly. You were born from me." Lily processed this information with the seriousness that small children reserve for important matters. "Why didn't you take care of me when I was a baby?" The simple question cut Lucy's heart. "Because I was very young and didn't know how to take care of a baby. So I left you in a place where I knew that good people would find you and take care of you. And Grandma Connie found you. And now I really wanted to be your mother, but, well, I got sick, a very serious illness." "Will you get better?" Lucy fought back tears. "I'm going to try to get better, but I don't know if I'll be able to. That's why I want to spend as much time as possible with you." Lily was silent for a moment, then stood up and hugged Lucy. "It's okay," she said with the simplicity of children. "You can be my mother, and Grandma Connie can continue to be my mother too. That way I have two mothers." The childish solution to a complex adult problem made everyone laugh through tears. In the weeks that followed, a new routine was established. Lucy had moved closer, getting a transfer to work only part-time at the local regional hospital so she could spend more time with Lily. The doctors had recommended that she start treatment immediately, but Lucy asked for a few weeks to organize her life and establish deeper bonds with her daughter. Lily adapted to the new reality with the natural flexibility of children. She began to alternate between calling Lucy Mother Lucy and Connie Mother Connie, as if it were the most natural thing in the world to have two mothers who loved and respected each other. Arthur became an even more central figure in this expanded family, taking on practical responsibilities and offering emotional support to everyone. He had become, in fact, a father figure to Lily and an essential partner to Connie. "Did you know this was going to happen?" Connie asked him one night, after Lily and Lucy had fallen asleep on the couch watching a movie. "The tumor? Of course not. No, I mean, did you know that in the end we would all end up being a family?" Arthur smiled sadly. "I think deep down I hoped we would find a way to make it work. I just didn't imagine it would be in these circumstances." "She's scared," Connie observed, looking at the sleeping Lucy. "She tries not to show it because of Lily, but I know she's terrified." "Who wouldn't be? She's very young. She has a whole life ahead of her." "Or had," Connie corrected sadly. But what none of them knew was that Lucy's diagnosis would bring not only sadness, but also revelations that would change everyone's perspective on destiny, family, and the true meaning of unconditional love. 3 months had passed since Lucy's diagnosis, and the family's routine had adapted to the rhythm of medical treatments. Wednesday and Friday mornings were reserved for chemotherapy sessions, which left Lucy weak and nauseous, but she insisted on spending the afternoons with Lily, even when she could barely keep her eyes open. Connie had become not only Lily's mother, but also Lucy's caregiver, preparing special teas for the nausea, organizing medications, and accompanying her to medical appointments. It was a situation that no one had foreseen, but that developed naturally, as if they had all always been part of the same family. "Mother Lucy, why is your hair falling out?" Lily asked one afternoon, gently touching Lucy's head, where thin strands of hair were beginning to come loose. "It's because of the medicine I'm taking to get better," Lucy explained patiently. "Sometimes the medicine makes hair fall out, but then it grows back." "Will it hurt?" "No, it doesn't hurt. It's just different. Lily thought for a moment, then ran to her room and returned with one of her favorite colorful headbands. "You can use this while your hair doesn't grow back," she offered, putting the headband on Lucy's head carefully. "It looks beautiful," she declared, admiring the result. Lucy felt tears in her eyes, not of sadness, but of deep gratitude for living these simple but precious moments with her daughter. During these weeks, Lucy had begun to teach special things to Lily, creating memories that she hoped the girl would keep forever. She taught Lily how to make bracelets with colorful beads, showed her how to take care of small plants, and especially told stories about her own childhood, building bridges between the past and the present. "When I was little like you," she said one afternoon, "my grandmother taught me a special song. Do you want to learn it?" Lily nodded animatedly, and Lucy began to sing a simple song about birds flying freely through the sky. The melody was sweet and soothing, and soon Lily was singing along, creating an imperfect but loving harmony. "Now that's our special song," Lucy said. "Whenever you sing it, you'll remember me." "But you'll be here to sing together," Lily said naturally. "Of course," Lucy agreed, although she knew that might not be true. Arthur watched these interactions with a mixture of admiration and sadness. He had taken on more responsibilities at the candy factory, automating processes so he could spend more time at home, helping with Lucy's medical care, and providing stability for Lily during such a turbulent period. "How are you coping with all this?" Dr. Henry asked during a social visit to the family. "Strangely well," Arthur replied. "It's as if we're finally being the family we were always meant to be. And Lily, she's amazing. She has an adaptability that surprises me every day. She accepts Lucy's illness with a naturalness that we adults can't have." It was true. Lily had become a little nurse, bringing water to Lucy when she was nauseous, making drawings to cheer her up on difficult days, and singing her to sleep when the pains were too strong. But it was on a Tuesday morning that the situation took an unexpected turn. Connie was preparing breakfast when she heard Lucy screaming from the bedroom. She ran and found the young woman on the floor, convulsing, while Lily was crouching beside her, clearly frightened but trying to help. "Uncle Arthur!" Connie shouted. "Call an ambulance!" The ride to the hospital was desperate. Lily held Lucy's hand in the ambulance, singing softly the song they had learned together, while Connie prayed silently and Arthur drove the car behind the ambulance. At the hospital, the doctors were direct. The tumor had grown and was causing pressure on the brain, causing the seizures. The treatment was not working as expected. "How long?" Connie asked when she managed to speak alone with the doctor. "A few weeks, maybe less," Dr. Santos replied gently. "The tumor is very aggressive. We can control the pain and seizures, but—" Connie nodded, understanding what he didn't say. It was time to prepare for the end. That night at the hospital, Lucy asked to speak with Connie and Arthur alone. "I know I don't have much time," she said, her voice weak but determined, "and I need to resolve some things." "What do you want?" Connie asked, holding her hand. "I want to formalize the adoption of Lily by you. I know you're not married, but Dr. Henry said it's possible to do a joint adoption in special cases." "Lucy," Arthur began. "Please," she interrupted, "I need to be sure that she will be legally protected, that you will have all the rights over her, that no one can question that in the future." "Of course, we're going to do that," Connie promised, "but you need to focus on getting better." "Connie, we both know that I'm not going to get better. But I can have peace knowing that Lily will grow up with the people who love her most in the world." In the days that followed, Lucy insisted on leaving the hospital whenever possible to spend time with Lily at home. They made cookies together. Lucy taught the girl to knit simple stitches, and especially recorded videos where Lucy told stories and sang songs so that Lily could watch when she missed her. "Why are you recording so many videos?" Lily asked one afternoon. "For when I travel," Lucy said, "so you can see me and hear my voice whenever you want." "What trip?" A special trip that sometimes people need to take, Lucy explained carefully. But even far away, my love for you will always be here. It was on a quiet Thursday that Lucy had her last serious conversation with Lily. She had woken up feeling better than in recent days, and the two were sitting in the yard, watching the flowers that Connie had planted. "Lily, you know I love you very much, right?" "I know, Mother Lucy, I love you too. And you know that Mother Connie and Uncle Arthur love you very much too?" "I know. I have many people who love me." "That's right. And I want you to always remember that, even when I'm not here near you anymore. Will you come back from the trip?" Lucy hugged her daughter tightly, breathing the scent of her hair, recording that moment forever in her memory. "I'll always be with you, my little one. Maybe not the way I am now, but my love for you will never go away." That night, Lucy wrote a letter to Lily to be delivered when she was older. She wrote about her regrets, about her gratitude to Connie and Arthur, and especially about the pride she felt in having given birth to such a special girl. "I have one last request," she said to Connie the next morning. "Anything. When the time comes, I want it to be here at home, with you. I don't want to die in the hospital, surrounded by strangers." "Of course," Connie promised, although she knew it would be the hardest thing she would ever have to do. And so it was that, on a sunny Saturday morning, Lucy said goodbye to life, surrounded by the family she had found for her daughter, knowing that Lily would grow up surrounded by love and that her brief passage through their lives had left a permanent mark on all hearts. It was a Saturday morning that started like so many others in recent months. Connie woke up early to prepare the special ginger tea that helped with Lucy's nausea, while Arthur organized the medications on the small table next to the bed they had set up in the living room. Lucy had insisted on sleeping there so she could see the yard through the window and hear the sounds of the shack that had become her last home. Lily was in the yard, humming the song that Lucy had taught her while watering the sunflower seedlings they had planted together. The girl had taken on this responsibility with seriousness, saying that she wanted the flowers to grow big and beautiful so Mother Lucy could see them. "How is she today?" Connie asked Arthur when he came into the kitchen. "Weaker than yesterday," he replied softly, "but conscious. Asked you to make that tapioca pudding she likes." In recent days, Lucy had eaten very little, but she always asked for small portions of the special foods that Connie prepared. It was as if each spoonful was a way to stay connected to life, to the family she had found. When Connie took the pudding to the living room, she found Lucy awake, watching Lily through the window with a faint smile on her lips. "She's taking care of the flowers," Lucy murmured. "She's going to be a wonderful gardener." "Yes, she is," Connie agreed, sitting in the chair next to the makeshift bed. "Want to try to eat a little?" Lucy nodded, allowing Connie to help her sit up. Her hands trembled too much to hold the spoon on her own, but she insisted on trying, as if each gesture of independence was a small victory. "Connie," she said after a few spoonfuls, "I need to thank you." "For what?" "For letting me be a part of her life. For not hating me when I tried to take her away from you. For loving me like a daughter these last few months." Connie felt tears welling up in her eyes. "Your family, Lucy. You always have been, from the moment you found the courage to look for Lily." "I'm scared," Lucy admitted, her voice almost a whisper. "Of what?" "That she'll forget me. That when she grows up, she won't remember the moments we spent together." "She'll never forget," Connie promised. "I'll tell her about you every day, about how you fought to find her, about how you loved her, about all the beautiful things you did together." At that moment, Lily ran into the room, her hands covered in dirt and a radiant smile on her face. "Mommy Lucy, look," she said, showing a small yellow flower that had sprouted on one of the seedlings. "The first flower bloomed." Lucy took the delicate little flower with trembling hands, as if it were the most precious treasure in the world. "It's beautiful, my little gardener," she said, "just like you." "Can I lie down here with you for a little bit?" Lily asked. "Of course you can." Lily snuggled carefully next to Lucy, taking care not to hurt her. They stayed like that for a while, Lucy stroking the girl's hair while humming their special song softly. "Mommy Lucy," Lily said suddenly, "are you very tired today?" "A little," Lucy admitted. "Do you want me to tell you a story?" "Grandma Connie always tells stories when I'm tired. I'd love to hear a story from you." Lily began to tell a made-up story about a princess who took care of magic flowers, where each flower had the power to grant a different wish. It was a childish narrative, full of repetitions and imaginary details, but Lucy listened as if it were the most fascinating thing in the world. "And what was the princess's wish?" Lucy asked when the story ended. "That all the people she loved would be happy forever," Lily replied simply. "What a beautiful wish," Lucy murmured, squeezing the girl close. During lunch, Lucy managed to eat only a few spoonfuls of soup, but insisted on sitting at the table with the family. She watched every movement, every conversation, as if she were trying to record every detail of that moment. "Arthur," she said, "can I ask you a favor?" "Of course." After I'm gone, marry Connie. Officially. Lily deserves to have married parents, a complete family on paper too." Arthur looked at Connie, who blushed slightly. They had developed a deep love for each other over those difficult months, but had never talked about marriage. "If Connie wants to," he said gently. "I do," Connie replied simply. "I really do." Lily clapped her hands, excited. "Are we going to have a wedding? With a white dress and cake? We're going to have the most beautiful wedding you've ever seen," Arthur promised. In the afternoon, while Lily was playing in the yard and Arthur was taking care of some business at the candy factory, Lucy asked to be alone with Connie. "There's something I need to tell you," she said, her voice weaker than in the morning. "What is it? In the last few days, I've been dreaming about my mother. She appears in my dreams and says she's waiting for me." Connie held Lucy's hand. "Do you believe in those dreams?" "I do, and I'm not afraid anymore. I know Lily will be okay with you. I know she'll grow up happy and loved. That gives me peace." "Lucy, Connie, when the time comes, don't let Lily see me like this. I want the last memory she has of me to be beautiful. I promise." They were silent for a while, listening to the sounds of life continuing around them. Lily singing in the yard, cars passing on the street, birds chirping in the trees. "Thank you," Lucy said finally. "For what?" "For letting me be her mother, even if for a short time. For teaching me that love isn't about possession, but about the well-being of the person we love." As night fell, Lucy was visibly weaker. She had insisted on having dinner with the family, but barely touched her food. After dinner, she asked Lily to sing their special song one last time. "Sing to me, my little one," she asked. Lily sang the song about the free birds, her crystalline voice filling the small room. Lucy closed her eyes, smiling as if the music was carrying her to a distant and peaceful place. "Now it's time for you to sleep, Lily," Connie said gently when the song ended. "Can I say goodnight to Mommy Lucy?" "Of course." Lily approached the bed and kissed Lucy's forehead delicately. "Good night, Mommy Lucy. Dream of beautiful flowers." "Good night, my little gardener," Lucy whispered. "I love you more than all the stars in the sky." After Lily went to her room, Connie and Arthur took turns staying with Lucy during the night. Around 3 in the morning, she woke up and called for Connie. "It's time," she said simply. Connie woke Arthur up, and the two sat beside the bed, each holding one of Lucy's hands. She was conscious, but breathing with difficulty. "Take care of her," she murmured. "Tell her about me, about how I loved her." "Always," Connie promised, "and be happy. You all deserve to be happy." As the sun began to rise, casting golden rays through the living room window, Lucy closed her eyes for the last time, a peaceful smile on her lips. She passed as she had lived her last months, surrounded by love, at peace with her choices, knowing that she had left her daughter in the most loving hands possible. Connie and Arthur wept silently, holding each other's hands over Lucy's silent body. From the yard came the sound of Lily humming as she watered her seedlings, unaware that her mother Lucy had left for the special trip she had mentioned, taking with her all the love she felt for her little gardener. 3 months had passed since Lucy's departure, and life in the small house was slowly finding a new rhythm. Lily, with the natural resilience of children, had accepted Mommy Lucy's special trip with a gentle sadness, but without the devastation that the adults feared. Connie and Arthur had married in a simple ceremony, with Lily as the flower girl, fulfilling the promise made to Lucy. It was on a Thursday afternoon that Connie was organizing Lucy's belongings, clothes to donate, personal items to keep as a memento for Lily when she got older, when she found a small box hidden at the bottom of the bag that the young woman always carried. Inside the box were letters, old photographs, and a sealed envelope with the name Connie written in Lucy's delicate handwriting. With trembling hands, Connie opened the envelope and began to read. "Dear Connie, if you are reading this letter, it means that I have departed to be with my mother, as she promised me in my dreams. There is something I have never had the courage to tell you in person, but you need to know. When I was a child, I studied at Santos Dumont Elementary School here in Harmony Creek. I had a special friend, a girl with black hair always tied in braids, who sat at the desk next to mine. She was kind to me when the other children called me daughter of the woman who drinks. That girl was called Connie Farrell." Connie's heart stopped. She remembered immediately a shy little blonde girl who was always late for school with slightly dirty clothes, who shared her lunch with her when she had nothing to eat. Lucy. How hadn't she made this connection before? The letter continued. "You didn't recognize me because I've changed a lot. The last name was also different. At the time I used my stepfather's last name, but I recognized you the first day I saw you. The kind girl who defended me from the bullies, who always had a smile for me, who taught me how to tie my shoes. During all these months, I wanted to tell you, but I was afraid that you would think I had looked for you on purpose, that this whole situation was planned. But the truth is that fate brought us together in a way we could never have imagined. You saved my life when we were children, being my friend when no one else wanted to be, and you saved my daughter's life when I couldn't save her. Thank you for being the wonderful person you always were. Take care of our Lily." Connie dropped the letter to the floor, tears streaming down her face. Childhood memories came back like an avalanche. She and Lucy playing at recess, sharing secrets, promising to be friends forever. How had she forgotten? How hadn't she recognized the girl who was her best friend during the 2 years they studied together? "What's wrong?" Arthur asked, entering the room and seeing Connie's emotional state. With a choked voice, she told him about the letter and the memories that had returned. Arthur hugged her, understanding the magnitude of that revelation. "That explains a lot," he said gently. "The way you connected so quickly, how she trusted you to take care of Lily." "I failed her when we were children," Connie sobbed. "When my family moved to another neighborhood, I simply forgot about her, and she went through so many difficulties alone. Connie, you were children, and look how fate brought you back together. You may not have been there during her difficult adolescence, but you were here when she needed you most, when she was struggling to be Lily's mother." That night, Connie told Lily about the discovery, adapting the story so that a 6-year-old could understand. "Your mommy Lucy and I were friends when we were your age," she explained. "We played together at school, shared lunch, we were like sisters." "So you already knew each other for a long time?" Lily asked, fascinated. "We knew each other, but we had forgotten. Sometimes that happens with adults, but the heart never forgets completely." "That's why you liked each other so much?" "I think so, my love." In the following days, Connie began to look for other people who had studied with them, trying to reconstruct pieces of Lucy's childhood. That's how she discovered that Lucy's mother had faced serious problems with alcoholism, that they had moved several times during their childhood, and that Lucy had left school at 12 to work and help support the family. She was always brave, commented Donna Maria, a former teacher who still lived in town. Even as a child, she took care of her mother, tried to maintain the dignity of the family. She was a child carrying adult responsibilities. These discoveries helped Connie better understand the young woman that Lucy had become, the strength that led her to look for her daughter after so many years, and especially the wisdom she demonstrated in understanding that true love sometimes means letting go. A month after these discoveries, Connie made an important decision. She wanted to create a memorial for Lucy, something that honored her memory and allowed Lily to always remember the mother who loved her so much. "What do you think about planting a special garden for Mommy Lucy?" she suggested to Lily. "What kind of garden?" "A sunflower garden. She always said you were like a sunflower, always facing the light, always bright and cheerful." Lily loved the idea, and they spent weeks planning and preparing the ground. Arthur helped to demarcate the space and buy the seeds, but the work of planting was done entirely by the two, as a ritual of love and remembrance. "When the sunflowers grow, will I be able to see Mommy Lucy?" Lily asked as she planted the seeds carefully. "Not the way you saw her before," Connie explained, "but whenever you look at the sunflowers, you will remember the love she felt for you, and that love will never go away." During this period, other discoveries came to light. Connie found a folder with documents that Lucy had meticulously prepared, including a simple will where she left her few belongings to Lily, letters of recommendation from doctors attesting that Connie and Arthur were the best possible caregivers for the girl, and a series of childhood photographs that she had managed to recover. Among these photographs, there was one that made Connie cry. She and Lucy at 7 years old, hugging in the schoolyard, smiling at the camera during a summer festival. On the back, someone had written, "Best friends forever, Connie and Lucy, June 1995. "She kept this for all these years," Arthur murmured when he saw the photograph. "She remembered. Even when I had forgotten," Connie said, gently touching the image. "She always knew who I was." This discovery brought a new dimension to the loss of Lucy. It wasn't just about a young mother who had passed away too soon, but about a childhood friend who had returned to Connie's life through extraordinary circumstances, as if fate had conspired to bring together two people who needed each other. "Do you think she planned all this?" Connie asked Arthur one night. "How so? Do you think she specifically looked for me? That she knew I had found Lily?" Arthur thought carefully before answering. "I think she followed the available clues, and that fate did the rest. But mainly, I think she recognized in you the same kind person she knew in childhood, the person who would be able to love her daughter unconditionally." 3 months later, when the first sunflowers began to sprout in the special garden, Lily ran excitedly to show Connie. "Look, Mommy! Mommy Lucy's sunflowers are being born." Connie looked at the small green seedlings emerging from the earth and felt a deep peace. It was as if Lucy was sending a sign that she was okay, that she approved of the way Lily was being raised, that their childhood friendship had transformed into something even more beautiful, a family united by unconditional love. "Yes, my love," she said, hugging Lily. "They are growing beautifully, just like the love she felt for you." And as they watched the garden bloom together, Connie knew that she had discovered not only the lost past with Lucy, but also the certainty that some connections transcend time, memory, and even life itself. 2 years had passed since Lucy's departure, and spring was arriving in Harmony Creek with an explosion of colors that transformed the entire town. The sunflower garden that Connie and Lily had planted was majestic, with enormous flowers that followed the sun throughout the day, creating a natural spectacle that attracted neighbors and passers-by to admire. Lily, now 8 years old, had grown in stature and wisdom. Her brown braids swung as she ran through the yard, taking care not only of the sunflowers, but of an entire garden that had expanded under her dedication. She spoke about Mommy Lucy with affection, but without the sadness of the first few months, as if she had found a healthy way to carry her memory. It was on a Monday morning that something unexpected happened. Connie was preparing breakfast when she heard Lily talking animatedly with someone in the yard. Through the window, she saw an elderly woman with white hair and simple clothes crouching next to the girl, admiring the sunflowers. "Mom, there's a lady here who wants to talk to you," Lily shouted from the back door. Connie went out to the yard and found a woman of approximately 70 years, with blue eyes that carried a strange familiarity. There was something in her features that sparked a distant memory. "Good morning," said the woman with a gentle voice. "My name is Hope Silver. I was Lucy's mother." Connie's world stopped. Hope, Lucy's mother. The woman who, according to the stories she had heard, struggled with alcoholism and had raised her daughter in difficult conditions. "Mrs. Silver," said Connie, trying to regain her composure. "Please come in. Lily, go play in your room for a bit while I talk to the lady." "But I want to hear about Mommy Lucy," Lily protested. "You can talk to her later, my love." "Now I need to talk to her first." Reluctantly, Lily obeyed, but Connie knew that she would try to eavesdrop on the conversation from somewhere in the house. In the living room, Hope looked around with eyes that recognized signs of love and care in every detail. Lily's drawings taped on the refrigerator, the family photographs on the bookshelf, the clean and welcoming atmosphere. "How did you know where to find us?" Connie asked. "It took time," Hope admitted. "When Lucy got sick, she looked for me. We had distanced ourselves because of my problems with drinking, but she forgave me. She spent the last few months telling me about you, about how she had found her daughter, about the family she discovered here." "Did you know about Lily?" "I knew that Lucy had had a daughter very young. I knew that she had left the child somewhere safe. But only in the last months of her life did I find out where and with whom." Hope took a deep breath, her hands trembling slightly. "Connie, I came here because I want to meet my granddaughter. I know I have no rights. I know she already has a family, but it's the only link I have left with my daughter." Connie studied the woman in front of her. There was sobriety in her eyes, a clarity that contrasted with the stories she had heard about Hope's turbulent past. "Have you stopped drinking?" she asked directly. 3 years ago, when I found out that Lucy was sick, I understood that I needed to be present for her in a way I had never been able to before. I went to treatment. I attend meetings. I changed my life completely. And what do you want now? To be a part of Lily's life, if you allow it, not as a threat to the family you have built, but as a grandmother who wants to meet and love her granddaughter." Connie was silent for a long moment, processing this new situation. After everything they had been through, the custody battle, Lucy's illness, the discovery about the past, now another person appeared wanting to be a part of Lily's life. "Mrs. Silver," she said finally, "I need to talk to my husband before making any decisions. And mainly, I need to think about what is best for Lily. I understand perfectly. I didn't come here to cause problems. I came because Lucy asked me to." "How so?" "In the last days of her life, she made me promise that I would try to meet Lily. She said that the girl deserved to know the whole family, even the imperfect parts." At that moment, Lily appeared in the room, clearly having overheard at least part of the conversation. "Are you Mommy Lucy's grandma?" she asked directly to Hope. "I am, my dear," Hope replied, her eyes filling with tears as she saw her granddaughter up close for the first time. "Then are you my great-grandma?" "If you want me to be, yes." Lily studied Hope with the seriousness that children reserve for important decisions. "Do you have pictures of Mommy Lucy when she was little like me?" "I have some, yes." "Can you show me?" "Lily," Connie interjected, "first we need to talk about this." "But I want to meet my great-grandma," said Lily with the simple logic of children. "And she can tell me stories about Mommy Lucy that you don't know." When Arthur arrived home from work that afternoon, he found a situation he could never have imagined. Hope was sitting in the living room, showing old photographs to Lily, while Connie was preparing coffee for everyone. The scene was surrealistically normal, as if they had always been a family. "This one is your mom at 5 years old," Hope was saying, pointing to a faded photo. She'd lost her front tooth and didn't want to smile for the camera. "She was funny," Lily laughed. "She looks like me when I lost my tooth." Arthur watched the interaction for a few minutes before introducing himself to Hope. There was something genuinely caring in the way the elderly woman treated Lily, a tenderness that seemed sincere. That night, after Lily was asleep, the three adults talked at length about the situation. "What do you think?" Connie asked. "She seems sincere," said Arthur. "And Lily clearly liked her." "I know I made a lot of mistakes raising Lucy," said Hope, tears in her eyes. "I know my problems with drinking hurt my daughter in ways I can never repair. But I've changed, and I want a chance to be for Lily the grandmother I never managed to be for Lucy." "How can we be sure that you won't relapse?" Connie asked, expressing the fear that everyone carried. "You can't be absolutely sure," Hope admitted. "But I can show you that I'm serious about my recovery. I have proof of treatment, contacts of doctors, people who can attest to my sobriety." During the following weeks, Hope began to make regular visits, always supervised initially. She brought stories about Lucy's childhood, old photographs, and mainly a genuine love for Lily that was impossible to fake. "Great-Grandma Hope," said Lily on a Sunday, "can you teach me how to make that sweet that Mommy Lucy liked? Coconut candy." "I can teach you, yes. And can you tell me more stories about her?" "I can tell stories all day, if you want to listen." 3 months later, something extraordinary had happened. Hope had truly become part of the family, not as an invader or a threat, but as a loving grandmother who complemented the love that Lily already received. She helped with homework, told stories about the family, and mainly kept Lucy's memory alive in ways that only a mother could do. "You know what I think is most beautiful in all this?" Arthur commented to Connie one night. "What?" "How our family keeps growing. First it was just you and Lily. Then I came in, then came Lucy, and now Hope. It's as if love is multiplying instead of dividing." "Lily has always been lucky with the people who appear in her life," Connie observed. "Or maybe she has the gift of awakening the best in people." In December of that year, they organized a simple party to celebrate Lily's 9th birthday. The whole family was present. Connie and Arthur, Hope, some dear neighbors, and Lily's school friends. In the yard, the sunflowers were in full bloom, creating a golden setting for the celebration. "I want to say thank you," said Lily when it was time to cut the cake. "Thank you for all the people who love me. Thank you to Mom Connie and Dad Arthur, who take care of me. Thank you to Great-Grandma Hope, who tells me stories. And thank you to Mommy Lucy, who, even though she's not here, still takes care of me through the sunflowers." Everyone present was moved by the girls' maturity and gratitude. Connie looked around, seeing the improvised family they had built, and understood that sometimes the best families are not those united by blood, but those united by the choice to love unconditionally. That night, while Lily slept surrounded by her birthday presents, Connie went out to the yard and looked at the sunflowers, illuminated by the moon. It was as if she could feel Lucy's presence there, approving of the family that her daughter had found, happy to know that Lily would grow up surrounded by so much love. "Thank you, friend," she whispered to the golden flowers. "Thank you for teaching me that true love is always greater than our fears." And under the soft light of the Harmony Creek moon, amidst the fragrance of sunflowers and the distant sound of Lily humming in her sleep, Connie understood that she had found not only a daughter, but the true meaning of family, the one that is built day by day, with choices of love, forgiveness, and unconditional dedication.